Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I am your host Max Kellerholz, and with me today
The Despoiler, Chinggis Khan.
I am Maximus Deficus. We are talking about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, the newest film in the long-running Mad Max franchise. This is the fifth film and the first film not to have Max Rokitansky as the main character. This follows Furiosa's basically whole life story from when she was a little girl in the Green Place up until literally the events right before Fury Road. It's just basically her trying to figure out how to survive in this wasteland, work her way up into positions of power to get what she wants, and just it's a very, very crazy fucking film. um, I guess what I could say is just that yeah, this is I had a lot of fun. This is a really good movie. It's a crazy and epic film that is worthy of the predecessor and deserves to be seen in theaters. I do not for the life of me know why this film is not doing well in theaters, like at all. It's crazy to me that this is bombing, but we'll get into that later. I may have some theories as to why, but I don't know. It's crazy to me that this isn't doing well. But Yen, what did you think of this film?
Yes. I, how long was the movie?
That's a great question, actually. Um,
Because let's just say I had a raging boner the entire time. I'm just kidding. Well, I enjoyed the film very much. Like, this is another Dune incident where,
uh-huh.
like, you just bring me along to watch a movie, and just fall in absolute love with the franchise that you introduced me to.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like, I was looking up the movies. I watched a whole 30-minute video on a Morton Joe's anatomy and physiology.
That's been on my recommended for a couple days now.
Dude, it's awesome. Like I didn't even know like there was a comic book out there for Mad Max. Like I knew there was an old video game for like the PS4 and stuff, but
Yep.
like
Hmm.
finding out about the comics was awesome.
And then the movies
Uh,
that are like from the 70s and 80s.
yeah, it's like God, I have so much on my plate. Like Star Wars is literally being replaced with Warhammer, Mad Max, and Dune right now, and I'm all for it.
So basically, anything with sand in it is doing it for you.
Yeah, I guess these three franchises have more sand than Star Wars. Like, don't
Mhm.
get me wrong, I still love Star Wars.
Oh yeah, like
Um,
same here. But it is nice to see
um,
like other things as well. Like
yeah, like Mad Max. Like, oh my God, it's so different from what I'm used to. Like, I'm not used to watching stuff where it's like, I guess, very post-apocalyptic and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
would you say like motor based? I don't know if that makes sense, but
Well,
like,
like the whole aesthetic of Mad Max, and I guess we could talk a little bit more about that when we do cover Fury Road. Um,
mhm.
like the whole point of like the Mad Max movies was like it's the idea of like they're all like movies centered around like a drifter coming into town and saving the day, but instead of like horsebacks, it's cars. So like in back in olden times, they would have horses and armor and weaponed out like in this really fancy gear and stuff. So the idea is that there's these villains and heroes that have like these cars and they're also like modded out and put together or scrapped. Like things are if things break they can easily be put back together. Like you have to be that quick and on the fly in this world. Like every little thing in the film, from like the weapons, the cars, the armor, is stuff that you can recognize in our world as like day-to-day objects that has just been used to make like these operatic and Roman Empire or hell any kind of like past like army in the and just like and made to look really cool. And because that's what they have left. They don't have like smelting areas, and if they do, they're used to make bullets, not armor. One thing that I really love is that like every single like side character and like background character in this film looks like they have their own story going on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, who are the dudes that that had to dress up as war boys and then got like betrayed in a way.
Those were part of Dementis's like crew or like gang, I should say, his biker gang.
I liked how with Decimus's crew, it wasn't just like super uniform. You could still see elements of like their, I guess, tribes past, like because
Yeah.
they looked real different with the way they wore stuff. Like I think at one point they had stuff that reminded me of like dead plants or something.
Yeah, yeah. Like most of George Miller's movies, who's been with this franchise since the very beginning. This is his baby. This is his movie franchise. He created Mad Max. But like all of his films, the main character is not the focus, which is really weird.
Yeah,
Like everything happens in this movie around her, and she just has to kind of deal with it. Oh, I've been kidnapped. Well, I got to figure out a way to get unkidnapped. I've been captured and now part of this gang. Well, I got to figure out how to like get out of this situation. Like just every little bit of the film, she has to figure out a way to get out of these certain situations. And I don't even think like Anya Taylor Joy doesn't really even show up until like halfway through the film, if
oh
I'm
yeah, for sure.
correct. Like,
Yeah, I'd say a third of it she's missing.
like she's like it's just mostly the younger actress who I don't have the name up at the moment, but I will post a picture here. She's great in the film. Like she carries like the whole innocence, like throughout the good first half of the film, and then like once like that's gone, like Anya Taylor Joy just carries the sadness of the character, and I think she does a really good job. She makes it her own character while also embodying elements of what Charlize Theron did in Fury Road. But do you have anything to say about Anya Taylor Joy?
Oh boy, you should have not asked that. On the like half or 1/10 of a percent that she sees this, I gotta ask, are you single?
I'll post your Instagram down below.
Oh, thank you. But no, I think she knocked it out of the park with her character, even though she didn't like say much. It felt so visceral and real, and I don't know, I was just completely, I guess,
It's an
over.
experience.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I was trying to come up with like what to say, but like I was just overwhelmed by everything, the
Mhm.
settings, the characters,
Mhm.
the action.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we'll get into that in a bit. But I,
yeah,
if we want to talk about characters or actors that really steal the show in this film, Chris Hemsworth as Dementis is amazing. Like he just plays the most Australian bloke I have ever seen in a film. Like he commits to the accent, he commits to the prosthetic nose, the over the top like zany personality, yet like he's just so good in film. He can be terrifying at some moments, he could be a sniveling weasel at some other moments, but throughout all of it, he just commands the screen and you can never like look away because you're like, what is he gonna do next? Because he's just fun to watch.
yeah. Honestly, I think he deserves an Oscar, especially after what happened to his nipples.
Oh my god, yeah. That entire scene just made me uncomfortable. I had to turn to like the person we saw this with and I was just like, "Do your nipples hurt as well?" And he turned to me and said, "Yeah, they do."
Dude, I had the complete opposite reaction. I legit thought that was like the greatest thing I've ever seen in cinema.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, damn, he had his nipples ripped off, but this dude is still talking and being like a smooth talker
Like nothing
and
happened.
negotiator. That's a man I look up
I also think he had his like nose like a nose ring that went through it.
to.
Yeah, like
Wait, did he? Because I don't remember seeing that.
yeah, because it was his nose ring and then his nipples that were attached to that device. And once he let it go, it just went through. And you can kind of tell in the scene, but there's blood dripping down his mustache. But since he already has like red in his hair, you can't really tell. But I was like, that looks a bit darker than the red that's in his hair. Which, by the way, unintentionally makes him look more like the Norse version of Thor. Like the red hair, the reddish blonde beard, the red cape. I was like, holy shit, he's playing Thor, but more accurate to the to the Norse mythology, where he's just an asshole.
Well, he's a man of many talents.
I know, man. Or a one-trick pony because he's just playing Thor again.
I was gonna say, speaking of Decimus, that's like,
Dementus.
oh, sorry, Dementus.
I love that
Um,
name so much.
it's a good name. It's very intimidating. But yeah, I usually don't like villains when I watch media and stuff. But
Mhm.
like, I couldn't help but like, even after doing some of heinous things, I was like, I can't help but watch and want to see him more on the screen,
Mhm.
even though I hate what he did.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, man, like just what a fun villain for this movie. Honestly, if I'm gonna remember one thing from this movie, it's definitely gonna be his performance. Straight up, like I'll watch this film again just to see Chris Hemsworth get his nipples ripped off again.
Can we quote that?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, quote me. Quote. You could put that on the fucking Blu-ray cover.
I'm gonna. Does he have an Instagram account? Because I'm gonna DM
Yeah,
him saying, "Hey, this is what my friend wants to do." Or
Big fan, Chris Hemsworth. Big fan. But yeah, I guess we could kind of talk about some other characters. I really liked, for the little we get of her in the film, I really liked her mom, like
oh,
Furiosa's
dude, she.
mom.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, dude, just sort of the one word that I can describe her as is just efficient. Like
hot,
it, that too. Oh man,
dude.
like
Like
yeah, go on.
the nah, she's hella efficient and like tough. Cause I don't know if you notice, and I hope I'm not the only one I noticed, cause that might be concerning. But dude, she was barefoot pretty much during all her scenes, and like she's running through hot sand in a post-apocalyptic world, and she doesn't give a fuck that her feet are burning.
Oh, I didn't even
Whereas
think
me,
of it like that.
I'd be like, fuck this.
Oh, you're right. Oh, Jesus, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because like that whole time, I was like, holy shit, she is badass. She feels no pain,
She's just dedicated.
and she's a good shooter. Oh my
Oh,
god,
dude.
dude, that's wife material. But
Oh, hell yeah. Two things. Um, Before we saw this movie, you were like, "How violent is this?" Because I do like some good violence, and I think it was like the second time she uses the sniper rifle, and we see the camera go through the bullet hole real quick. I was like, "Is that good enough for you?"
yeah, I don't know if I hallucinated this, but I swear I saw his eyeballs pop out when that happened, and that was awesome. Yeah, it might have been like a intentional, subtle type of thing, like detail too.
hmm But the other thing I wanted to tell you about the whole feet thing, you are not the only
Mm.
person who noticed that because I don't know if you know the creator Hideo Kojima.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah, he posted a tweet basically gushing over that actress, and he specifically used a picture of her kicking her feet up on a bike, and you just see like the feet. And so many people called him out for like, oh boy, Hideo and his foot fetish again.
Make sure you put a picture up on the. Actually, can you send me that post too later? Oh, he definitely has a foot thing. You know, Quiet from Metal Gear Solid.
Yep, that's what people were comparing it to.
Yeah, he had like the actress's like the bottom of her feet.
hmm
He took pictures of it so they could upload it
Oh yeah,
into a 3D model.
yeah.
Me, man, we must be related.
Actually, weirdly enough, that is not the only Metal Gear Solid reference that's going to be in this movie or this review because the next character I really liked in the film, who gets a pretty big role in the film, is a Praetorian Jack,
Uh huh.
like played by an actor named Tom Burke. He just looks like Snake.
Oh yeah, like in Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater when he has the
Yeah,
makeup.
the makeup, but like the black grease makeup on his forehead makes it look like the bandana that Snake wears in the video games.
I can definitely see that. Yeah.
And there's moments where like you see him like going around corners, like stealthily shooting people, and I was like, "Holy shit! It's just Metal Gear Solid."
Kept you waiting, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Back to like the character himself, like I really liked his character in the film. I just like that he was just like this dude who gained this reputation, and then when he sees this girl like basically doing the job of like 10 other men who just died all at once, just efficiently like her mother, just like killing all the bandits off one by one, like and respecting that, I was like, what a cool dude. Like And even when like there's certain elements in the movie that they go more into their relationship, it didn't feel cheesy or weird to me. It felt like, no, I could kind of see these characters like having some kind of feelings for each other. It never came across as like forced. It felt very natural, and yeah, like I just really liked his performance, liked his character. And one other thing that I like about his character is that like he looks like Mad Max. Like if you know what like the Mel Gibson version looks like, if you know what the Tom Hardy version looks like, he's basically wearing the same jacket. He's got the same build, same, white guy, kind of the same hair, like more like the Mel Gibson '80s hair. But because he looks like Mad Max, it really helps to inform all the decisions that Furiosa makes in Fury Road and make the dynamics between her and Max in that film much more interesting now that we have the context of this movie.
Yeah, I read something online about that connection while I was going on my Fury Road rampage.
Do you have anything to say about Praetorian Jack?
All I say is I love his character too. Complete badass, and like he didn't really have to help her at all,
At all.
but he went to her, asked to like help her, and then he even gave her like a cool, what was it? Was it a revolver
It
with
was a
like brass knuckles?
it was like a brass knuckle mini revolver, and it also turned into a knife at one point. So it was like a
Yeah, like
Swiss. It was like a Swiss Army pistol.
that's a hell of a first date gift.
Hell yeah! Start gifting your girlfriend's guns.
Shit, that might be a reality, but let's not
Bro,
talk
yeah,
about that.
let's move on. Yeah, I guess before we go into more spoilers, I'll just say my one problem with this film that does make it not as good as Fury Road, but it's a personal thing in my opinion. I thought the pacing of this film was a bit of a roller coaster, in
Hmm.
that like you'd get really really fast paced action, and then you get some really really slow downtime, and then back to really high paced action and really really slow downtime. But when like unlike Fury Road, when it would do that, Fury Road had this like tension of like they're still being chased after at all times, whereas this film there's really not that same tension, mostly because like this is a prequel and we know that the character gets from point A to point B. But again, that's not my problem about like, well, we know where she ends up. My problem is just like I wish the film had more put more emphasis on the idea of her getting caught, because at a point like her identity about like being this person from like the green place, that whole thing just kind of gets swept under the rug. Like she
Hmm.
still cares about that, but the characters around her don't care about that. They're like, well, move on. The only thing that helps with those slow paced moments is that you get really colorful characters in them, like Praetorian Jack or Dementis, or hell, a Morton Joe for that matter. Like, just a bunch of really colorful characters in those scenes. That does not, it's not a huge problem with the film for me, and I don't even know if it was a problem for you. But I don't know. Do you have any problems with the film at all? Like, I mean, that's my one problem is the pacing.
Well, Defecus, I'd say for now, no, but I haven't seen the other Mad Maxes yet, so that may change in the future. Because I absolutely loved the movie. I thought it was a 10 out of 10. So,
For me, it's just the idea of like it being a prequel and a companion piece to Fury Road. And Fury Road is just a masterclass in action. And we'll discuss more of that when we do review Fury Road. But I think this film is also a masterclass in action. I just think that this is like, if we're going to be talking about masterclasses, this is like the day that the teacher comes in is like, I know what we're 90% of what we're doing, but for like that 10%, it's just kind of like him kind of like filling in the blanks, or like having to be like a really like, oh, he's still going on with this. Okay, all right, let's get to the good stuff. And then when you get to the good stuff, it's a fun class again.
damn, I'm gonna have to watch Fury Road now because I thought if Furiosa wasn't a masterclass in action, then my socks are gonna be blown off when I watch Fury Road.
We'll talk about it, but we're gonna move into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen this film, which I highly recommend you do, please go see it in theaters. Go support your local theater chain. Go see this really fun action epic in the biggest screen that you can, because it is worth it. Like, don't wait for it to come out on DVD so you can see it on your small screen or on your phone for that matter. Experience this in the biggest screen you can possibly see it in. It is so fun. It is such a good movie. But yeah, we're gonna go into spoilers. Yen, what were the things you wanted to talk about first?
Ah, okay, so spoilers. I guess what happened to her mom.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
Like, damn.
Crucified, pretty much. Well, not crucified. Hung up.
She was like burned at the stake.
Yeah. The idea of where she's from is like it's like a holy place where a bunch of like women are in charge. So that's why like all the women are like on horseback trying to like save this girl, and like they're all competent and they take charge. So I guess it's supposed to bring up imagery of like Salem witch trials kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think they do a lot more than that though.
I don't want to think
Like,
about that. I
oh no, because I was curious when I saw like the instruments being used. I was like, are they like?
Yeah, I don't want. I don't
Like,
know. All I know is that
I
there's
was
a
gonna say,
fire at her feet.
no, not the feet.
No, yeah, that was a pretty sad death. But again, it's also like you don't really see what happens to her. The implication of like fire at her feet and a bunch of men around her, I don't think it was good.
Oh, I thought they were just trying to gut her.
It's weird to say. I hope that is what happened. That's like the least of my worries.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying about what they could have been doing.
Yeah, and forcing Furiosa to watch it all, like Jesus Christ,
What a nuthead.
for real. Speaking of that nuthead, what I wanted to talk about in spoilers was I loved getting to see like how great and flawed of a leader Dementus was. Like you brought it up in the car ride home, so I'll kind of let you talk about it more. But like he's one of those leaders that is like really good at like getting a change going and like changing the status quo. But once that status quo has been changed, he's not a good leader in the long run.
Like he's a great short-term leader to follow, a very charismatic, but like I noticed throughout the film, he do things like kill off some of the dudes from another, I guess, assimilated tribe,
Mm-hmm.
who just happens to be like one of his generals, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
So that's like you're doing an action that they're not gonna like, and then later on in the movie, they're like, "Oh, this gang has separated from Decimus." I'm like, "Oh,
mm-hmm.
not surprising." And then he's either losing people because they were sold off, killed, or they just straight up went against him because
Yeah,
he's a nut.
yeah, like the Octoboss, the guy with like the four AK-47s attached to each other on the motorcycle.
Didn't he sell his like what was it called, a
Organ,
biohacker? Oh
like
yeah, the like
like an organ
the
doctor or
bio.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, he was taking care of Immortan Joe's babies.
Yeah, so that character shows up in Fury Road.
Really?
Yeah, so he's still taking care of like Morton Joe's kids or babies. He's actually it's not we wouldn't really talk about him that much in Fury Road because he's like a background character. So getting to see like a little bit more context behind him being in this film, like when I saw him initially in this film with Dementus, I'm like, oh, so he was running with these guys first. Okay. So when you see him get traded off, you're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it's also really interesting to see like which members of Dementus's crew stayed along.
Yeah, like the history dude and then the one-eyed freak.
Yeah, yeah. He was the one-eyed guy. Was like he was a supporter. He was always a loyalist. He was never gonna like betray Dementus. Like he was gonna be with him no matter what. But the history man just seemed like he was just captured and like taken along.
Yeah. Oh, and then you have a Scarface lady.
Oh, you know what's funny about that character?
What?
That's Chris Hemsworth's wife.
That's funny.
So yeah, they just got to work on a film together throughout most of it. I think that's pretty cool. I wonder if their kids are in the film.
Yeah, it was the mutant baby.
The four-legged kid.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything around Dementus was just my favorite stuff, including like stuff with a Morton Joe in this film. I was curious to see what you had to say about this character because like he is the main villain in Fury Road, but I liked getting to see his like quote unquote softer side in this film, like the calm, collected leader who would, if being threatened, he'll let his subordinates talk for him. And I really liked his presence in the film. And at first you're like, oh, maybe he's a scary looking guy, but maybe he actually does care about Furiosa because he's like, why do you have that little girl with you? He's like, that's my daughter. And he's like, is that actually your father? She's like, no, I'll take your kid. And you're like, oh, he's actually going to save her. And then he says, to be my wife. I'm like, oh no, oh no. I
Dude, I mean,
forgot.
be honest, seeing a dude look like that, I knew where he was going when he was asking about the kid.
I know, but like for a little bit, I was like, oh, maybe he actually does care because he's all about like leave a legacy behind. So part of me was like, well, maybe he does kind of see her as like a daughter figure. But then I have to remember, and like he's all about a male heir.
He's
So
just
yeah,
he's harvesting the fruit a little bit early.
don't ever say that again.
No, but that's what that freak was doing, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying I support it. I'm pointing out his
You're pointing out
disgusting.
fact. You're pointing out what happened and like his
Yeah,
weird giant man baby son. Like
yeah. I don't remember, dude. He had like 3 kids, right?
I know he has three kids. Like there's one of them in this film that's new and that is not in Fury Road, and then there's one in Fury Road that's not in this film.
Yeah, it's like
So
the small guy and then like the guy who looks like Walton Goggins. And
is that just because he has a giant forehead?
the hairstyle, but yeah.
All right, okay. But no, yeah, that character's not in Fury Road. I did find his name Scrotus really funny. Yeah, just Morton Joe is all about like giant, like he's all about like manhood and stuff. So the idea of naming his kids after like penis stuff is pretty funny. One of my headcanon things is if he did get a male heir eventually, I think he would name him Phallus.
Falius.
Phallus. Some weird Latin Greek thing. I don't know. No, like I did like Morton Joe's impact in this film and just creating that menace and like you get to see more of the war boys in this film, which I always love the war boys. That was just a really welcome inclusion in the film that just helps to fleshing out this crazy wasteland world that these characters live in. I guess the other big like spoiler that we can say is that like Mad Max is in the film, but kind of just shows up and you don't really get to see who is playing him. And
It
like
almost looked like a 3D model, if I'm being completely honest.
it did. It really did. And it just kind of comes out of nowhere because like we cut from one particular shot of Furiosa like trying to like hobble her way back to the Citadel. And then we cut and it's just like it's basically the opening shot of Fury Road, but not. Like it's a little bit far it's farther away. And I found out that the actor who is playing Mad Max there, because it's an actual guy, it's not a CG model. It's actually Tom
Uh,
Hardy's stunt double. That was something that I didn't like expect to see in this film. It's implied that he helped her, don't you think?
yeah, because like it cuts to him and
Uh-huh.
then she's being dragged. But then she wakes up in that weird meat maggot cave.
So it's either she managed to get there by herself. That's one thing that may have happened. Second thing that may have happened is that those maggot people caught her and dragged her under. Or the third thing that happened is that Mad Max, why am I just calling it? Max saved her and then just dropped her off at that place, and the maggot people got her.
You said the what people?
The maggot people.
Okay. Okay, I thought you said something else.
It is Pride Month, damn it. I cannot say that.
Oh, it is Pride Month.
Um,
Oh no.
oh no. But yeah, so Mad Max is in this film, so yeah, this is 5 times in a row. He's just not. He doesn't play a. He's not even a character. It's more like, hey, just to make sure that you know that what world this is in. This is what we're in.
You see his butt in the back of his head. That's about it.
Pretty well. You see his whole body, but yeah,
Yeah.
that famous Mad Max ass.
Mmm.
Mm,
Delicious.
yeah, Tom Hardy booty. I really like how they ended the film and like choose your own ending kind of thing, where it's just like, okay, do you think she mercilessly shot him in the back of the head? Do you think she strung him up like how her mother was killed? Or this third option, which personally I think is what actually happened because it's weird and it's fucked up and I like it. You basically see Dementis, Chris Hemsworth character, have a tree being grown out of his body.
Out of his crotch. I don't like if you look
Yeah,
closely.
yeah, it's like his like lower abdomen guts area was just used to like grow this peach tree. And I thought that was fucked up, but really awesome.
Kind of deserved, for being honest.
Oh yeah, like that is like the perfect way to like kill this dude. And the one thing I really love, God, this makes me sound like crazy, but fitting for this review, is like the little water droplets being trickled into his mouth. Like, we're gonna barely keep you alive. But the beauty I love about it also, that peach plant that she grows out of his body is used to help influence those brides that are in Fury Road to go with her to the green place. Like, yeah, that like I really like that idea. I think it's like a weirdly biblical like idea because it's like a forbidden fruit metaphor. It feels like a Greek or yeah, a Greek tragedy. Like Dementis's character was just trying to gain power but didn't know how to handle it. Is now being like, and, you know, also constantly on the move on motorcycles and monster trucks and shit like that, and his torture to be just be stuck in place. I just really like that ending and like just a great film way to like uh, get you pumped to see Fury Road for the first time or again because it ultimate like the ending reminded me of like Rogue One.
Like how so? How so?
Well, like in Rogue One, you slowly start to realize like, oh, that's the cruiser at the beginning of episode 4. Oh, those are the guys in the rebel helmets.
Yeah.
And like you see Darth Vader there, you have Leia there, and then like they hyperspeed away, and then you immediately can go watch episode 4, and the story continues. It kind of felt like that for this, where it's just like you see the wives go into the war rig, and the movie ends, and then you can stop there and then go watch Fury Road, and then you have the story continue.
Okay, yeah, I see that. And now I know what you mean.
Like, yeah, it just reminded me of that. Like, that was my favorite element about Rogue One, or one of my favorite elements of Rogue One, and that's one of my favorite elements of this film. But yeah, I guess we can start to wrap it up there. But like, do you have anything else spoilery to say before we end it?
No, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything else because I want these people to go out and watch the film.
Oh, I guess what we can talk about real quick. It's not a big non-spoiler thing, but like one of my reasons that I think that this film is not doing well, it was an R-rated film. Can't bring families to this. Is a pretty like warm weekend. It is a Memorial Day weekend. Most people are spending it with their families, not going to a movie theater because most people are also like, I'll just wait for it to come out on streaming, which is a big reason why theaters aren't doing well. And I think the biggest reason, this is a prequel film to a movie that didn't do well in theaters initially. Like Fury Road kind of, I don't want to say bombed at the box office, but it didn't do well at the box office. And since this is a prequel film to a film that no one saw in theaters, but gained a big following on DVD and Blu-ray and all sorts of streaming services afterward, like I could see why the hype for this film didn't really go anywhere. Also, Fury Road came out like 9 years ago. People may not remember a lot of the things that happened in that film, but then again, like Avatar came out like Avatar 2 came out like fucking I want to say like 11 years maybe after the original.
Oh, you're making me feel old.
Well, I feel old too because I was alive during that. But yeah, just like that's why I think the film didn't do well. I don't think it's a reason of like it's a female lead because that's just bullshit. Like women can kick ass too. That's kind of a given, and we've said it throughout this review. Like a lot of the characters in this movie are just badass, efficient women. All those manosphere people can go fuck off.
Yeah, I'd let Taylor Joy beat my ass any day of the week.
Hell yeah, brother. But yeah, that's my theory behind why this film isn't doing well. Well, thank you guys for watching this review. If you haven't already, we're also releasing a Mad Max Fury Road companion video to this one. So please go check that one out. We had a lot of fun recording that one. And for the month of June, we're going to be going through our X Marathon where we're covering all the X Men movies. So please stay tuned for that as well. Also, check out some of our trailer reactions. I should have a trailer reaction to Venom: The Last Dance out by now, which is another Tom Hardy movie. So go check that out as well. Yeah, that's all I really got to say. Please like, subscribe, and share. And all hail Lord Chinggis Khan.
All defecate in the name of Defecus.